England and Wales kick off their World Cup campaigns in Qatar today, but their captains won't now wear armbands against discrimination. It comes after fears that Harry Kane and Gareth Bale would be booked if they wear the One Love armbands. Other European teams have also decided not to wear them. Fans across Wales get behind their team ahead of its first World Cup tournament in more than 60 years. And we'll be live in Doha with the very latest, with England's footballers less than 90 minutes away from their opening game. Also in the programme, the Prime Minister addresses the employers' organisation, the CBI, with calls for him to allow more immigration to boost growth. After a fire in Nottingham in which 2 children died, a man is arrested on suspicion of murder. And how a non-surgical treatment for clubfoot, usually for babies, is now helping teenagers in Africa. Good morning. The captains of England, Wales and other European teams at the World Cup will not now wear a One Love armband promoting diversity and inclusion because of the threat that they would be booked. England are just 90 minutes away now from their opening game against Iran, while Wales play the United States this evening. Our sports correspondent Natalie Perks is in Doha with the very latest for us. Natalie.
Well, this is a decision that's been described as unprecedented. Back in September, the FA wrote to FIFA asking for permission to wear this One Love armband. It's anti-discrimination, as you say. It features colours similar to the rainbow flag. Now, FIFA never responded to that request, and yesterday Harry Kane said, yep, we're going to go ahead, I will be wearing it, and we'll just take the fine. Overnight, it's become very clear that FIFA would impose sporting sanctions on any captains who wore it, including Wales's Gareth Bale, for a breach of kit regulation. In a joint statement, the nations all said we cannot put our players in the situation where they might be booked or even forced to leave the field of play. It's left the nations frustrated and disappointed, and they say they'll now show their support in other ways. As you can imagine, fan groups have responded angrily. The Football Supporters Association said it felt betrayed by FIFA and that it was a yellow card to players but a red card to tolerance. Now, the players of England and Wales will be hoping to put all that armband drama behind them and just focus on the football. John Watson takes a look now at how both teams are gearing up for their big kick-off today.
We're underway with fireworks and fanfare. One of the most controversial World Cups in history has begun. Having arrived in Qatar less than a week ago, it's England who are up next. And by the look of it, they don't appear to be feeling the pressure. They have, though, been feeling the heat and kick off against Iran in their opening match at 1 o'clock. Gareth Southgate hoping he can improve on their run to the semi-finals 4 years ago.
The aim is to go that one step further. Amongst ourselves as a group, we've talked about those big picture aims, but you really have to get the start point right, and we've got to play well against Iran and start in a positive way. Start to take the country on another journey with us, and that's our focus now.
Wales last qualified back in 1958, a goal from a 17-year-old Pelé knocking them out of the quarter-final stage.
Now watch this magnificent goal by Pelé. What tremendous control.
15 World Cups would pass before they'd qualify again, and after such a long wait, a nation will be gripped when they play the USA at 7 o'clock.
As a kid, you dream of seeing Wales in a World Cup, but to actually be in the team that achieves it is an incredible feeling, and an honour to be able to do it for our country.
Despite the distance and the cost, thousands of fans have made the trip out to Qatar and have been revelling in the occasion.
I think we're going to win the whole thing. I think you have to, don't you?
It's either going to be 5-0 or 0-0, I feel. It could either go really well or it could be quite nervy.
I just can't believe I'm here, to be quite honest. I keep pinching myself every day.
It's the passion and emotion that makes a World Cup so unique, the biggest prize in world football. And as the atmosphere now builds, so do the hopes of every fan. John Watson, BBC News.
Well, of course, there are lots of England fans who haven't made it out to Qatar. Our correspondent Dan Johnson's with some of them in Manchester for us this morning. Dan.
Yeah, this is a huge warehouse in Manchester, an old railway station that's been converted into a fan park. It can hold 6,500 fans. People are just starting to gather here this morning, still a couple of hours from kick-off. Let me bring in Chris, who was the first man through the doors this morning. You were keen, Chris?
Yeah, I've seen it advertised on Instagram and social media, and really happy to be here, looking forward to it.
What do you think about the whole set of controversy there's been around this World Cup? Does that overshadow the football at all for you?
For me, I'm here to just watch the football and enjoy it with my mates. No, it doesn't overshadow it for me. It's a World Cup and obviously England are playing, so just looking forward to the football more than anything.
Does it feel like it's got the same excitement, the same buzz as a normal World Cup?
I think it will do when it kicks off, but it's kind of, as we were saying before, it's kind of sneaked up on us now. But yeah, really looking forward to it. I know kick-off's just an hour and a half away, so yeah, looking forward to it.
And what chances are you giving England?
I think we'll win comfortably today. They're a good side around, but I think we should beat them, to be honest. So I'm going to go 3-0.
Hopeful for the rest of the tournament?
I hope so. We're quite short odds to win it, so bookies are never really wrong, Gally. So yeah, let's hope we do and repeat what we've done in the last last 3 or 4 years. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, nice one. Thank you, Chris. As you're hearing there, some optimism here, and people now ready to watch some football.
All right, Dan, thank you very much indeed. Dan Johnson there, and Hal Griffith is in Doha following the Wales squad. Hal, what a moment it's going to be tonight when they step out onto the pitch. Wales' first World Cup tournament for 64 years.
Yes, a journey that has lasted decades. We're now just hours away from kick-off. Speaking to the players in the week, they often use the term surreal for the fact that they are the chosen ones to represent Wales at a World Cup for such a long time. And speaking to the fans who started to arrive and early this morning, that's a sentiment they echo. Some can't quite believe it's going to happen. One or two telling me this is the moment they wanted before they die. One of their friends had to remind them they've got 3 games in the World Cup, so they don't want to peak too early. But they're enjoying themselves. The red wall is assembling in their bucket hats, in their shirts. Obviously, they've had to go through the same ethical questions, the same question of expense to get here, but everyone telling me the same. This is a moment they didn't want to miss. Now, what about that game this evening? Well, Wales come up against the USA, a tough, athletic team who promised to play aggressively against Wales, but the Wales manager Rob Page says that's something they can soak up, and he wants his players to be relaxed and enjoy their moment on the world's biggest stage. OK,
Hal, thank you very much indeed. Hal Griffith. Well, for insights on the big issues surrounding the World Cup, including the One Love armbands row, you can listen to the Newscast podcast with Adam Fleming and our political editor, Chris Mason. Search for Newscast on BBC Sounds. The UK should use immigration to solve worker shortages and boost economic growth. That's according to the boss of Britain's biggest business group, the Confederation of British Industry. In response, the Prime Minister has told the CBI conference that the country's #1 priority is tackling illegal migration. Well, our political correspondent Alex Forsyth can join us now from Birmingham. Alex.
Yeah, well, this gathering of business leaders at the CBI conference is an annual event, but it takes on an extra significance given the bleak economic picture outlined by the Chancellor last week. So it might be unsurprising that much of the focus here is on how businesses can grow, given the UK's facing recession, given inflation is rising, given the state of the public finances. And the boss of the CBI, Tony Danker, he has said that the government needs to do some things to help businesses grow. He talks about planning, he talks about the regulatory environment, and he also talked about immigration. And he suggested there needed to be more workers allowed in from overseas to address some of the skill shortages that are crippling certain sectors right now. Now, when the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak was asked about this, he gave absolutely no indication that the government would look at that specifically. He talked about a visa system for the best and brightest, but his focus, he said, was on tackling illegal immigration. Have a listen to what the Prime Minister had to say.
That it's right to ensure that the United Kingdom is a beacon for the world's best and brightest from around the world. You heard me talk about that in the speech. I want to make sure that we can win the global race for talent. And I'm unapologetic about wanting to deliver an immigration system which is highly competitive for the best and the brightest. And that's what we'll deliver. But I think the most pressing priority right now is tackling illegal migration.
Now, the Prime Minister was also asked about the UK's trade relationship with the EU after speculation there might be some sort of closer arrangement like the Swiss deal. Number 10 ruled that out, and when Rishi Sunak was asked about that today, he was very clear, saying under his leadership there'd be nothing that involved closer alignment with the EU. Still questions, though, over Britain's future trade and migration policies from here.
Alex, thank you. Alex Forsyth there, our political correspondent. Police in Nottingham have arrested a man on suspicion of murder after a fire in which 2 young children died and a woman was critically injured. The blaze began in the early hours of yesterday morning. The 2 girls who died were aged 1 and 3. Our correspondent Joe Black joins us now from Nottingham. Joe.
Ben, yes, we're 5 miles outside Nottingham city centre in an area called Clifton, and you can just see behind my shoulder at the first floor flat where this fire took place in the early hours of Sunday morning. You can still see some fire damage to the property. And as you were just saying there, 2 children, 2 little girls, one aged 1 and one aged 3, died. Their mother, who is 28 years old, is in a critical condition in hospital. Now, the investigation that took place after this from the fire service and the police service established that this fire was set deliberately, and late last night a 31-year-old man from Clifton was arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. Now, Carl Thomas, who is a neighbourhood inspector, was here earlier on today talking to the media, and he said that there was no big updates, but he said that the force was doing everything they could to get justice for the family, and they asked for anybody with any information to assist the investigation to come forward.
Joe, thank you. Joe Black reporting. NHS leaders in Scotland have discussed a radical plan that would make wealthy people pay for health service treatment. It would mean abandoning the founding principles of the NHS that make it free for all. Well, our Scotland editor James Cook has the latest for us from Glasgow. James.
Yes, that's right, Ben. This is a minute of a meeting held by NHS chief executives in September, and in it they appear to have discussed all sorts of ideas for the reform of the NHS. Most controversially, of course, that suggestion that there could be a 2-tier service where those who can afford to go private, but also plenty of other ideas apparently on the table, including cutting the funding of new drugs, perhaps restricting the access to free prescriptions, which are state-funded in Scotland, and also discharging patients from hospital earlier is one possibility, even if that leads to increased risk. Now, the most controversial of these suggestions has been immediately knocked down by the Scottish Government. The First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, telling us a short time ago that the founding principles of the NHS are not up for discussion, and indeed the Prime Minister echoing those points in his speech this morning as well. So what we have here is perhaps an indication from within the NHS that there is a very serious crisis and that something significant does need to change, even if the politicians say it won't be as significant as completely abandoning the founding principles of the NHS.
James, thank you. James Cook, our Scotland editor. Up to 46 people have been killed and 700 injured after a 5.6 magnitude earthquake struck the main Indonesian island of Java. The tremor could be felt in the capital Jakarta, about 60 miles away, where people in tall buildings were evacuated. Officials have warned the death toll could rise and also of possible aftershocks. Now, every year, 200,000 babies are born with clubfoot, which means they have twisted feet. Early diagnosis and treatment yields the best results, but in developing countries, lack of access to treatment leaves many children unable to walk without pain. Well, in Senegal, where only 20% of cases get treated, experts have been perfecting the use of non-invasive techniques to coax feet into position even for teenagers. Is our global health correspondent Naomi Grimley.
At 14, Sarinya relies on his mother to take him to clinic. But she'll do whatever it takes for a son who was born with both feet twisted inwards. He has club foot, a congenital condition affecting 1 in 800. This is how he used to walk. He's always dreamed of being a footballer.
Some people said he wouldn't walk, that he was incurable. In school, kids teased him about his feet. One time, he refused to go to class for 3 days. It caused me real heartache.
Senegalese medics are among those leading the way in treating older children using this so-called Ponseti method. Before, a child who'd already learnt to walk on a twisted foot might have been told surgery was the only option, whereas this is mostly non-invasive. In another clinic outside the capital, they're identifying cases as early as possible. The medical team rely on word of mouth to get parents to bring their babies in.
So this child is only 13 days old. This is her second cast. So this means she's received treatment from the start of her life. It makes healing easier, and the feet are very flexible when they're young.
The thing about clubfoot treatment is it's super cheap and actually very easy. It doesn't even need highly trained doctors. Physiotherapists can do it too.
A week later, Serinya is back at the clinic to have the 20th pair of casts taken off. A minor operation was also required to release the Achilles tendon. Now each foot is in position. He'll need physiotherapy to learn to walk again. But look at the progress on his feet. That dream of playing football is coming within reach. Naomi Grimley, BBC News, Dakar.
Well, back now to the World Cup, and it's a moment of history for Wales tonight. As we've been reporting, our correspondent Jane McCubbin has spent the morning at the school where the Wales manager, Rob Page, used to go, and where staff and pupils are looking forward to the big match.
In Robert Page's old primary school, they are singing for Wales. Their former pupil will lead his squad onto the pitch tonight against USA, and everyone here has permission to stay up late and see their heroes.
They're so excited, and this is something they'll remember for the rest of their lives. Just look at them, they're fabulous.
Massive. We're so lucky to work with them every day, but what an inspiration. They got to dream big to achieve these dreams in Tylerstown.
This was Robert Page back then. Today, he is a local and national legend.
Tell me who went to your school.
Robert Page.
How special is he?
Really special. Very special. Magnificent, very brilliant. Better than the whole world.
Tell me what it means to sing that song in these parts on this day.
Yes, and Robert Page is a Tylerstown boy. So if we can help with the kids and us, then all for it.
OK, time for a look at the weather now. Here's Ben Rich.
Hi there, Ben. Thank you. Good morning. It was a chilly start for many of us today. In fact, the coldest morning of the autumn so far. Temperatures in the Highlands down below -5 Celsius. But at the other end of the UK, another face of autumn weather. Some very wet and very blustery weather pushing in from the southwest. Some really strong winds around southwest England, parts of Wales. This band of rain moving its way quite slowly northeastwards through the day. Some wet weather for parts of England, Wales, particularly wet across Northern Ireland. Brighter for much of Scotland with a few showers. But after such a cold start, temperatures topping out at just 5 or 6 degrees, and even further south, highs of 11 or 12. So we've got low pressure in charge at the moment. This low centre here taking rain a little further northwards, but that then stalls. This area of low pressure here squeezes the isobars together to give a swathe of gales across parts of southwest England as we go through tonight, with plenty of showers in the mix as well. Temperatures not quite as low as they were last night, although some places, you can see the blue on the chart, will see a touch of frost. And then into tomorrow, showery and windy in the south of England, and more especially the Channel Islands. This band of rain working its way across eastern parts of Scotland. Elsewhere could be a bit murky to start, say across central parts of England, East Wales, but that murk and cloud should tend to break up. We'll see some spells of sunshine. Temperatures again, 6 to 11 degrees, not as windy though as it is today. Now low pressure will dominate the weather through the rest of this week, so there'll be more bouts of heavy rain, some brisk winds at times, but as those low pressure centres drift to the north of us, well, that will allow something a little bit milder. So temperatures through Wednesday into Thursday lifting a little bit, not feeling quite as chilly. Ben.
Ben, thank you very much indeed. That's it from us, and on BBC One now, we'll join the BBC's news teams where you are. Goodbye.